Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Get Your Paint On here, February 20th. I'm joined by a couple of lovely people. We've got Will Hungerford in the studio today.
Hello.
Lauren Lauer.
Hello.
And the beautiful Tony Konachek.
Good morning.
So, a couple of announcements to go through real quick before we get on to painting today. First thing is first, let's go to the schedule. Obviously today's Get Your Paint On. We've got Staff Showdown next Tuesday, right? That's where we're going to be talking. That's the first. Please talk about that, Will.
Sure thing, buddy. Oz and I will be on Staff Showdown, unless something horrible happens to Oz or myself, where we'll be playing Warcaster for the first time, showing off a starter box versus starter box game, so everyone can get a feel for the mechanics and what the gameplay is like.
Yeah, and then Hobby Hangout we've got on the 21st. That'll be tomorrow, 10 a.m. With, I believe it's Danny, right?
Yes, Danny should be building some very cool terrain for us tomorrow.
Excellent. Well, we'll look forward to seeing that. And then you got your Dev Hangout on Wednesdays, which I think we're going back to the usual Dev Hangouts after our Warcast stream.
Yeah,
yesterday.
next one is the Mompoc updates that we pushed for the Warcast yesterday.
Right on. Excellent. Well, I look forward to seeing that next week as well. Let's go to subscriptions here real quick. 120 loot coin. Jeez, I'm bad at reading apparently today. 120 subs gets us our Right Quest loot coin emote to go along with all the rest of our really awesome emotes we've got, like the Hamilton emote, which is my favorite.
It's the best. It's the best emote.
It's the best. And then we got Mini Crate. We've got two new Mini Crate models to talk about. We've got the Gremlin Spring Break Party, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. And 00 Debray, which is super cool as well.
And she's the VIP. And what's interesting is it is often rare that the non-VIP model is large based. You normally don't see that. Most of them are small and medium based.
Yeah, I didn't even think about. Wait, no, this is on a 40 mil.
You might be right.
Yeah, pretty sure that model's on a 40 mil.
My head's in Warcaster right now.
Yeah, I know.
50 or 40, there's a gremlin doing a keg stand.
It's a 40 mil.
Keg stand.
I'm going to look it up right now.
40 mil. It's definitely a 40 mil.
I mean, it is a 40 mil. So just ignore everything I said. And I know that it's a 40 mil. I've played with them dozens of times.
Yeah. You're in Warcaster mode. That's fine.
I am literally in like Riot Quest Warcaster mode and War Machine mode.
But there aren't really any 50 mils in Riot Quest either. There's only a few.
You got Helga. You got Leadfoot and Treads.
Out of the 20.
You got Malvin.
Some odd models.
Malvin and Mayhem.
He's not out yet.
Okay.
He doesn't count. Anyways, let's get to a fantastic model that we have today, which is our Paladin Weaver.
Ooh.
So, obviously, we announced Warcaster yesterday. Talked a lot about it on the stream.
And if you didn't catch that stream, you can catch the VOD on our YouTube channel, Privateer Press Prime.
Yep. So we wanted to get one of these models on stream to paint up with you guys today.
Very excited.
Lauren, what are your plans for this model today?
I'm going to try and do that same fantastic orange glow you did on your hexes.
Okay.
And I kind of want to do like a purpley black for the cloak.
Nice.
I haven't quite decided where I want to go with the armor yet. Maybe chat can help me pick something out.
Awesome.
So two quick things for people that want to know a little bit more about Warcaster. If you don't have time to watch the entire video that we just talked about, the website's up. You can go to warcaster.com, where there will be more information showing up constantly, especially as the Kickstarter goes live. Additionally, Matt Wilson, our Chief Creative Officer and the man behind everything that Privateer Press does, just put up a sort of FAQ insider this morning, which should be on our website on privateerpress.com. And it answers a lot of the questions that people have been asking, such as why are you doing a Kickstarter? What does this mean for War Machine? And things like that. Which, to spoiler alert, what does this mean for War Machine? Nothing. War Machine's not going away. This is not a replacement by any means.
That's awesome.
Its own thing.
I'm excited to keep up to date with all that as more news becomes available. My plans for this guy, I'm making my own army. I happen to like Alliance quite a bit. Their models are pretty sweet. So I am going to paint up this guy in what I imagine is going to be my scheme for that, which is going to be Violet Glow, obviously, as you guys can see. And I'm probably going to do teal armor with some like black under armor as well.
Well, Huron on Twitch right now says, Lauren, do teal or an ice blue and go with purple, black, and orange glow.
Oh, interesting.
That's a lot. Sure, we can make it work.
So
Ice
they want.
blue?
I think they want teal or ice blue armor.
Okay.
And then your choice of either purple or black and orange glow.
We can go purple. I like purple everything. I can just make this whole model purple if you guys want. But I like purple glow. I'm down with it. We can do that. Some light blue armor, maybe teal.
Yeah, the hexes are sculpted. As you can see, I put a little wash in there, and it really pulls out the detail on all of these little hexes.
Yeah. So,
So
you
they
don't
are
have to
sculpted.
freehand
Yeah.
hexes.
The only model that has hexes that you kind of sort of need to freehand are the light for the Warjack that comes in the starter.
Oh.
The shield is not super deep on the relief for the hexes, but it's pretty easy to define those hexes.
Okay.
Huron actually clarified. So to go with your purple black robes, do an orange glow and then teal or ice blue.
Jordan, center up.
Oh,
sorry.
And I'm gonna give Jordan an extra hard time today for centering up because we spent a little more time fine tuning the camera position to a comfortable painting point.
It'll be generally speaking fine, okay?
So
You're worried so much about it, you don't need to be so worried.
we have a challenge from Yes, I'm a Hidden Elephant. Says, imagine painting the hexes to look like the spaces from a Riot Quest map.
Nope.
They're pretty small. I think you could just do
No.
like a faded or shaded, tan brown and
that-
add some gold.
No,
and
I
blue
like
hexes
so
on there.
on the Firebrand shield, the jack that we showed. It has a lot of hexes, right? And it's got a big open area. I want to see the day where someone freehands that hex and just redoes Hole Grinder.
Alternatively, could the next Riot Quest map be played on top of some kind of
On top of that hex
on top of this hex?
shield.
This is entirely too meta.
It cannot.
Oh, okay. So orange glow, blue armor. Okay. All right. I trust you, chat.
Striker's right. We do have to. We need to get those subs so we can get that Riot Quest token so that we can then get the center up
Yes.
emote for this show
Must
to
have
help
the center up.
to help out our painters gently and politely and respectfully,
Then just spam the heck out of the emote.
keeping them on camera.
Yeah, that sounds great.
These hexes are very easy to paint
Oh yeah.
with blazing ink.
Yep. Just glaze them in real quick. It's super easy.
Dragon Pup wants to know, will there be an Adepticon special model for the Iron Star Alliance? No, Dragon Pup. I believe the Adepticon exclusive model is going to be a Marcher Worlds Weaver,
Yeah.
the Coalition Weaver. To my knowledge, that will be the only Warcaster model available as an exclusive preview at Adepticon this year.
Yep. That is correct.
Still cool.
So I'm just going in here, laid some wash down for the glow, which I'll go back to and bring back up here in a little bit. And I'm going to start base coating this armor. Although I think I'm going to switch to doing the under armor because I want to not have to paint over when I paint the under armor again. So we're going to do that first.
So one thing users can do with channel points is they can do highlighted messages. So one thing, if I can't get to every question, one thing I'm going to try and do is when somebody uses their channel points, I'm going to try and read out highlighted messages because they went that extra. It means they're like a regular viewer and they've spent points to do it. So JP Great One says, I know Tuesday you're going to play the game, but could you give us any rules teaser on how it works mechanic-wise? So, wait, how it works. Let me scoot this over a little bit because this, part of my chat was cut off. I know Tuesday you were going to play the game, but can you give us any rules teaser on how it works? I am a mechanics guy, So while everything looks cool, what gets me interested is how something plays. So can we have a tidbit, a crumb, something? Well, the big rules reveal will be Tuesday, and I do not have permission to say a ton at the moment. Things I can say to sort of reinforce what we said on the stream yesterday. It is an alternating activation game where a player takes their turn, goes through all the phases of their turn, their activation, activating a unit, and then it goes to the other player. And so you're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. There is no caster kill in this game. Every game you play is scenario driven. You win or lose by playing the specific scenario you've chosen to play. Which means it's very difficult to say like table someone and win like classic caster kill style. This combined with the fact that throughout the game you are constantly deploying your units out of the void gates that you are constantly deploying across the battlefield. And when one of your units dies, it goes back into your reserves, back into the ship, and can then be redeployed again later in the fight. You never run out.
That was actually during the playtest. That was one of my favorite things about it. Was mechanically it worked very nicely, just to be able to get my guys, wherever they needed to be. And then as a hobbyist, it was kind of a bonus that you spend all these time painting up your forces, and then they hit the table and die right away. Your work is not in vain. They get to come back throughout the game, every game.
Yeah, that's very Monster Apocalypse in that sense that you have, when you kill a unit in Monster Apocalypse, it goes into
Back
your
in
reserves and
reserves,
comes
yeah.
back. Things I can talk about, and let's talk specifically about what these weavers are, is when you play the game, you are the Warcaster, right? The Warcaster is not a model on the table. You are the entity in the sky, in the ship, sort of viewing things. So before the game starts, you get to customize the rack. The rack is the ciphers you'll have available to you throughout the game. These are effectively the equivalent of spells. They are the neo-machanika formulas that you can put out into the battle as you play. They can do things like buff your units, debuff enemy units, and cause all sort of effects, including offensive effects, so, shooting gouts of flame or electric energy, arcane energy, whatever it might be. You then customize your force, which is that you choose the units that will be in your reserves that make up your army that you'll have available to you in the fight. And part of that is any warjacks you take. You customize your warjacks with the various Cortexes, shoulder-mounted weaponry, arm-mounted weaponry, based on the hard points they have available and the cost of the weapons you want to add to them. The model we're looking at today is the Weaver, and what the Weavers do is they are conduits for the Warcaster to channel their more potent ciphers. Specifically the destruction style ciphers that are called Furies. These are things that are going to do things like lightning bolts and fireballs and stuff like that. And they act as direct conduits from the caster in the ship down to the battlefield so that there is a point of origin for these destructive abilities to come through.
And both of the factions coming out at launch feature Weavers.
Yes. Weavers are a very important solo. There's a couple highlighted questions we can just get to real fast.
Hit me with them.
Dragon Pup says, is it like Monpoc units where you will likely never have your entire force on the table at the same time? Yes. It is very difficult to have your entire force on the table at the same time. It basically means your opponent is not attacking you. Snow Tiefling, I was under the impression this was a skirmish game, 5 to 10 models, but the website made it sound like it's more War Machine Hordes, 20 to 30 models. What is the expected average model count for an army? For a full-size army would be what is shown on the website, but you can play smaller-size games. 2 players with starter boxes can play, and there are missions specifically crafted to play with a lower amount of models. They're called skirmish missions. They play on a smaller-size table, and they are specifically designed to work, say, starter, restarter, or starter in a handful of extra units, where there are larger missions that are played on 4x4 and feature 15 units per side. Tell us about your painting.
Yeah.
I imagine we're going to get a lot of Warcaster-related questions today.
Yep. I was waiting for that. So I'm kind of just laying in the darker areas before I go back over it with the teal, because I want to do the deeper recesses first, so I don't have to do quite as much cleanup later. But I like kind of where the teal and violet's coming so far.
It's a very interesting color combination, actually.
JP Great One says the dark purple that Lauren is using. What is that?
That is beaten purple and coal black.
So there's a question I want to hit that was on both Facebook and Twitch. So over on Facebook, let's see, who was it that was asking? Somebody asked, and their thing swam by. I said, "What is the difference between this War Machine and Warcaster?" And then over on Twitch, Polypotent said, "Was the War Machine rule set used as the base for Warcaster's rule set?"
Do we have glue? My dude fell off his base.
Uh-oh.
Oh no!
Uh-oh. Yeah, I'll grab you some.
To answer both your questions, this is a completely different game than War Machine. And while you'll see the full demo on Tuesday, it does not use the 2d6 system. In fact, it doesn't even use standard d6s to resolve the conflict. It uses special dice. They are six-sided dice, but they're not six-sided pip dice like you're used to. You'll see all this on Tuesday. It is a vastly different game. I mean, just in the alternating activation is a huge change. No caster kill is a huge change, but the way the game itself plays, we have learned a lot over the years from War Machine, and there are aspects of the DNA of War Machine that were just good design choices to port over into Warcaster. But I would say the experience of playing the two games is very, very different. And that was, Warcaster is not War Machine in space. It is a new game.
Yeah. So Menokur, sorry, I'm really bad at names. Did I water down my ink for the hexes? I watered down Murderous Magenta into a glaze/wash. So I did water it down quite a bit. I'm going to let this dry really quick before I start mashing around on them again.
We can answer Alex's question. He wants to know if this is the first chance you've had to paint one of these guys.
No. I painted all of the studio ones, so I have definitely painted quite a few of these models.
Yeah, if you want to see more of the models, you can go to warcaster.com. We got some photos there. Or if you watch the Warcast Primecast from yesterday, we also feature some of the photos from video and photos that Danny and I did with those models on Danny's super sweet terrain board.
So a couple highlighted questions. Anon by proxy. So the game is very scalable, is the question. And the answer is yes. What does the top-end model count look like before it becomes unmanageable? Top-end army would be 15 units. Now, a unit is either a solo, a weaver, a solo, a jack, or a squad. Weavers are solos. So a solo is one model, a jack is one model, and squads are usually 3 models. So you have 15 options of that. So if you took nothing but squads, which is not recommended, at 3 a pop, you'd be looking at 45 models. That is not an army anyone is probably going to build. You're going to want solos and jacks. And then he asks, is it viable to play without the weavers? You could. You would still have access to some of your ciphers, but there's some ciphers that need a weaver to channel them, and you would, because you could customize your deck, you could try playing around that, but weavers are very important solos. I highly recommend you play with at least 2 or 3 in a larger game. Dragon Pup's highlighted message: since not all of the force will be on the table at any given time, roughly how many models do you have on the table and in play on average? It depends on what you're summoning, based on the scenario you're playing, the decisions you're making, and what your opponent is doing. I've had games where I decided to go heavy with more killy solos and jacks, and I've had 7 units out, but those 7 units were 7 models. I've had games where I needed to go squad heavy, and so I had something like, 4 squads, 2 solos, and a jack, which was obviously more models. It just depends, because the battlefield is constantly evolving. Sometimes some of the scenarios have taken hold aspects where you will have things on your side of the table that you want to keep, and then things on the opponent's side of the table you want to take. So you're going to sometimes summon units and defenders to hang back while you send the rest of your army forward. So it just depends. It just depends.
Striker's asking what our favorite jacks of the two we've seen so far are. And of course, while they both look super cool, I'm definitely leaning more towards the Iron Star Firebrand.
Yep.
I
Same here.
just love that super dynamic pose with that glowy sword and awesome shield with the has the same hex pattern that's appearing on these weavers. It looks awesome.
Yeah, I'm all about that hex pattern. I'm all about it.
Dragon Pup, is the Cypher deck, is that its name, customized ahead of time or done right at the start of the match? Can it be changed mid-battle? So it's called the Rack. The Rack is where your Cyphers are available. It's the deck of cards. You determine your Rack the same time you would build your army, and you cannot change it mid-battle.
Well, this is coming along.
Do people go teal? This is the first time I've looked at your model, Jordan.
I thought you were like, oh, that looks good. Well, I'll do that too. We'll
No,
just
no,
go.
no.
You randomly happen to go in the same teal direction?
Well, chat said something about going teal with purple and red. So I'm like, okay, sure. Yeah, I'll do that. I had no idea.
So I got to ask this question, Jordan, because I'm liking this color combination, but it is what I would consider, oh man, I forgot the word. Not like a non-standard color combination. I don't see it very often, but I love like that teal jade color and have used it before. Do you have just general thoughts on using teal as a primary color on models? Like, what does it combo with? Are there difficulties and challenges?
I mean, traditionally, right, if you look at like most teals, you're looking at like an orange to pair with them.
Okay.
Is the color the like standard traditional color theory way to do it, right? But I mean, other things look good with it as well. Like magenta looks really good with teal. It keeps it more towards like a. Oops, I am way off screen. More towards like a teal or like a cooler palette, right? And you can kind of play with some of the shades and highlights that you put into both of these. My plan is to make this violet a lot like warmer and more hot, kind of like that orange. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet, but it's kind of taken its time, and we're going to figure it out as we go. It's usually how my paint schemes kind of come together, right? I have a general idea and a palette in my head of colors, and then I'll start throwing them on the model, and as I see it on the model, my opinions may change one way or the other about certain parts of it, and I'll adjust as necessary.
All right, when you shade this and highlight it, do you approach it the way you would kind of a standard green?
Not necessarily. I kind of think about it in its own like realm of color, right? It's a green, but it's also a blue, so I kind of treat it as such. It also kind of depends on which way I want to go with the model, right? If I want to keep it more towards the blue, then I'll push for more blue shades, and it'll push it more towards that blue direction. If I want to keep it more green, then I can keep kind of going that route and push the green in it, and it'll look more green in the end. So it kind of just depends on what other colors you use to shade and highlight it. So if I highlight it with like greens or off greens, it will start to look a lot more green as a finished product. And that's kind of one of the things I like about Eldritch so much. This is the color Eldritch, by the way. It's this guy. Nothing mixed in. It's just the whole straight out of the pot, a little bit of thin down paint. But that's what I love about this color, is that it's so versatile. You can kind of start in one area of color, and you can kind of shift it towards a different one while you're painting, which is cool.
So we got some more highlighted messages I'm going to hit real fast.
Sure.
Deluxe says, can you tell us any other specifics on the deck? Is there a hand size? There is a hand size. The deck is customized by the player beforehand, and there are restrictions on how you build it, but you do get to choose the cards. You will have a selection of cards when you get your starter, so it won't be just a pre-made, everyone's playing the same. Let's just say there's categories of cards, and you have to meet certain requirements for certain categories of how many you have in your deck. Then once you begin the game, you shuffle the deck, and then you draw your hand, and there's ways to manipulate the cards in your hand, and you never run out when you go through the entire deck. You then just reshuffle your discard pile back into your deck. So you customize the kind of ciphers you will have available to you throughout the game, but you can never guarantee which ones will come up when. Striker wants to know, what's the max number of different customization slots on a jack? It depends on the jack. Most jacks are going to be Cortex, left arm, right arm, shoulder mount, but that is not always the case. There's very much room for things to have jacks that say, don't have arms, only have shoulder mounted weaponry, or don't have shoulder mounted weaponry, and so on and so forth. So typically there will be 4 slots. You must take a Cortex, and then you go into your weapons from there. But different factions have different types of jacks. Dragon Pup says, is there a point cost like War Machine and Hordes, or bring X number of units like Monpok? Both. When you build your army, you bring X number of units, but every unit has a cost to summon it onto the battlefield using Arc. Summoning a solo often costs far less than summoning a Warjack, and you are paying the points in-game using the Arc from your Warcaster to bring them through a Void Gate. So if you build an army of nothing but very expensive jacks, you have an army that is very difficult to get onto the battlefield versus being able to rapidly deploy a lot of lower cost squads and solos.
To Matthew Terry, the Paladin Weaver is currently on a 30 mil base.
Yeah. It's a 30 millimeter base.
DGC asks, is there app support like War Room? Not at launch. Judo McCool asks, how do you get Arc? You begin the game with it. Warcasters have a set amount, and it never goes away. It's never spent. It's never lost. It's simply moved around the field between powering your units' arms and armor, powering your gates, and powering your ciphers cast from the rack. Glitchy Bit has a question that you might be able to answer.
Yeah, I was
Jordan.
just about to pull that one out.
From a modeling perspective, are the Warjacks designed to be magnetized?
Yes. And yes. So there are connection points for all of the spots. Some are smaller than others. Obviously, the heads are fairly small, so those connection points are very small. If you can find magnets small enough, you can certainly fit a magnet in there. The weapons, from my experience, are going to be a lot easier. Both on the Alliance and the Marcher Warjacks.
Brandon Bricker asks, will Warjack kits have optional parts to represent the different options they can equip? Yes. In the starter box itself, the Warjack you get will have, I believe, 5 weapon options, and it can only take 3 of those, if I'm not mistaken. But that information will be coming when the Kickstarter goes live.
Yep.
So if my number was off, don't quote me on that. But
Yeah, I think that sounds right because of two arms and a shoulder.
I believe there's
Mount.
extras that you can.
Oh yes, you get more options than you can.
But I don't remember if it's Cortex options, weapon options. I think it is just more options because I know that the starter we specifically built the ones that you painted that we're going to be doing the demo with out of the starter parts, and that was not the only way they could have been built.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Dragon Pup, Doug Hamilton said last night jacks are being made with magnetation in mind. Yes. However, due to some production requirements, some pieces may be easier to magnetize than others. That doesn't mean that they are not able to be magnetized. It just means it's going to be more difficult to find a way to do it.
Scrooge Fizzle asking, are we going to have starter sets at cons for sale? Is this specifically for sale only via Kickstarter? I would recommend going and reading Matt's FAQ he posted today on the Privateer Press website. It really talks about why we're doing Kickstarter and then the plans for this game to be supported at stores and why sort of the launch of it is Kickstarter, but then where it goes after that. And I think Matt puts it into words best, and you can probably speak to that a lot, Lauren.
I can't say exactly what the retail tiers are going to be like, but we definitely had a focus where we wanted to bring this to stores because, stores are where the games live.
Right.
And we want it to be for everybody, not just...
And I believe Matt says in his FAQ, he's like a year later, when someone gets into Warcaster for the first time, they won't be doing it through Kickstarter. They'll be doing it at their local store.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that was a big misconception when a lot of people heard that it was a Kickstarter, is that it was going to be a Kickstarter exclusive game. For us, that is not going to be the case. Yeah. We definitely want to make sure that everybody has the ability to get access to it down the road as well.
Yeah.
Matthew Terry says, Lauren, he is digging your Crucible Guard colors.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't too far off of the Crucible Guard colors either. It's just not orange glow.
Morse on Twitch has a question that I don't know the answer to, but I want to read it anyway just so they don't feel like we're ignoring them because other people have asked. Will the Adepticon exclusive be online like exclusives have been in the past? I don't know. I'm sure we will announce that.
Yeah, I don't know either. I would say if because the SmogCon exclusive that we did for Grimkin was online, right?
Most of them have been.
Yeah.
Almost every
So
time we do an exclusive, it is.
I would be surprised if it isn't, but it may not be.
I don't think the Brew Bearer was, but that was a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dragon Pup wants to know how much water down it take to glaze that magenta down, Jordan? I think you meant to say how much water does it take to glaze that magenta.
We know what he means.
5 to 1. It's pretty watered down. It's like here, doing the thumb thing again.
Judo McCool, please tell me there will be cyber cricks. There won't
like this.
really be anything that matches up 1-to-1 with the factions you know from War Machine. They're very different. I mean, our first look at the Iron Star Alliance and the Marcher Worlds, there is no 1-to-1 comparison to any War Machine faction, right? And this isn't Space Signar and Space Khador. So
No fuzzy hats.
I believe Lauren is using the same green that I am.
I'm
be
using Eldritch.
Eldritch, yeah. Okay, so I want to throw a little bit of a wash on this green armor.
I want you to hit the shades on that armor. I want to see how you do that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put a coal black wash on this, really watered down so that I can define some of these recessed areas.
We're unintentionally copying each other at every move. Or just cold black is that useful?
It's a good complement to the armor. It will not actually be shaded like this, but this is a good starting point to kind of redefine some of those lines. I also think I'm probably going to put some white on this guy at some point.
Lawrence, a little hard for me to tell right now. Are you doing the backpack in a chrome or a steel?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm using pig iron.
Gotcha.
So I'm just laying in this this coal black wash, just kind of throwing it on here to try and pick up some of those detailed areas where the lines are on the model.
And that's just, I mean, if I apologize if I was looking at chat and you already said this, but that is just to kind of drop into some of those fine recesses and just add like a little bit of pop to them.
Yeah, exactly. Specifically right around this like face area, because there's a lot of detail in there that kind of gets lost when you start base coating in there. I think I'm probably going to do like this. There's like a line.
Oh yeah, I can just kind of see it on the top of his helmet.
So
there.
I'm probably going to paint that in the front part of his helmet in white. I think is my game plan for that. Let me grab something that I can.
I keep finding
base
spots
coat.
I miss.
A couple questions to hit. Screwfizzle says, Hungerford, are heavy jacks to be introduced during the months to come? Well, we did say that the jacks in the starter are light war jacks instead of just war jacks. So if there's a light, there has to be a dark or a heavy. One of the two. Our base size is going to be 30, 40, 50. Don't want to say that just yet, but there are different base size types, for sure. House Malin says, do you have a standard person-sized War Machine Hordes model to show next to these guys for a size comparison? Would you like me to grab something out of the case for you?
I mean, there you go. I mean, this isn't a standard size guy.
That's
This
a
is 40
that's a big guy.
This is a 40 mil big guy.
That is a big guy. Let me grab somebody normal
Yeah,
size for you out of
yeah.
the case.
Yeah.
So let's.
I mean, this guy's pretty bulky. Like, the armor definitely adds a little bit of bulk to them.
Have you guys seen any models that are outside of armor? I don't think I have yet.
So here's Black Bella from Riot Quest, who is pretty much like normal sized human.
Yeah, give me one.
Oh yeah, I just got it held out for you. Judah McCool, what will tables look like terrain-wise? Whatever your imagination wants to create.
I'm actually really interested in playing on, like, a super heavily, like, city terrain board. I think it would be really interesting.
I will say a lot of our playtest has been on more industrialized style tables that have catwalks and dumpsters and stuff like that. But you can also play in like open wilderness and like, you know, Mars style planets.
Best
Who's
place
Black
for
Bella?
alien trees? Pet stores. The fish section.
Oh, yeah.
Has some really bizarre looking plants.
It puts up a colossal. Does this help? No. So this is Black Bella. She's pretty average sized. Thank you for free painting the white streak. It's there. There's a little line to follow. It's not too bad.
Hendril55 with a highlighted message. How long after Warcaster launch do you think we will see the next faction? I can't say that yet. I will say just keep an eye out on the stuff we're announcing over the next few weeks, months, so just as more and more Warcaster stuff comes out.
Right.
And definitely pay attention to the Kickstarter. Alec Imluda, can you travel through a void gate without armor, or are you torn apart? I imagine you can travel through one without armor. Otherwise, the first colonists that arrived on these worlds and went through one of the larger void gates, they were like, Billy just got disintegrated. Go nowhere.
I don't know. A lot of lessons are learned pretty hard, you know? You
Like-
watch somebody do it and then be like, oh, don't do it that way. Nope.
Like people that figured out you could eat puffer fish, like the poisonous fish the right
Right?
way.
It's like,
Yeah.
how many people died to give you pufferfish as a
They know how to prepare that
Option.
through trial and error.
Someone was just like pulled one out of the ocean, was just like, you know what, I want to eat a pufferfish, and then ended up
What if
not
it was a
eating
challenge?
pufferfish ever again.
They're like, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of food that we eat that you have to wonder how we got there.
I mean, there are a lot of things that we eat that our bodies are not like designed to eat or drink. Milk is a great example.
Sure.
Like that, our bodies are not actually built to process milk that way.
Mad Dog 2020 grape. Human body was never meant to ingest that.
Yep,
But hell if I don't every morning.
it's true. It's because it tastes.
Now I
good.
want to know what food in Warcaster World looks like.
Oh, there's so many different strange worlds. It could be all kinds of things.
That's true.
I imagine they just eat potatoes for every meal.
Space potatoes.
Space potatoes.
Kickstart SJ says, shout outs to all the cavemen who died learning about plants.
Word.
Yeah.
The true pioneers.
What does this do? Oh, it makes my intestines itch. Goodbye.
Cannot eat rocks. Thank you.
I mean, sure you can.
As long as you can dissolve it first.
You just won't like the result afterwards.
That's true.
Anon by proxy says in the far future there's only space gumbo. If I was lead design and lead developer on this game, that would be
the
true.
case, yeah.
Absolutely. But I am not. So space gumbo is not the only kind of food.
Well, and you would have a pack or something on the outside of your armor that you just like plug like a propane tank that you fill with gumbo, plug it in, and then it just injects right into your stomach from inside the suit, so you never have to take that armor off.
I'm pretty sure you'd want your taste buds to eat it,
Not
though.
canon, by the way.
Hashtag not canon.
Ebenfell says, Hungerford, where do cards come from, and are they unit specific if they come in a unit box? Are you talking about the rack cipher cards? If you're talking about the cipher cards, you'll get a bunch in the starter, and then we'll be announcing more during the upcoming weeks how more cards are provided. So that info will be coming out. Though I will say that when you get, say a new Jack box or a unit blister, the stat cards for that specific unit would be in there. But as for new cipher cards, more info to come.
Space Infernals, I'm into that.
Chewy has a great question. Do you customize your Jack at list building time or during game time? At list building time. You are building your reserves, and the Jack customization is done ahead of time. So say you summon your Firebrand with its Fusion Glaive and Harbinger Cannon, and it dies. That doesn't mean when it's in your reserves you can change the configuration of the weapons. It has to stay Fusion Glaive and Harbinger Cannon. But say you took 3 Firebrand Light Warjacks as part of your unit reserve. Each Firebrand could be a different customization, and you would summon that specific one to the battlefield, and when that one died, you could summon it again later. Matthew Terry, do models have health, or are they killed once damaged? Some units are health 1 and die when they die, and then a lot of the Jacks and solos and even some of the squads have multiple health. And here's the best question for Lauren and Jordan.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Stryker says, what is everyone's favorite model we've seen for Warcaster? His is the Marcher World Hunter. What is your favorite model we've shown?
The Alliance Jack.
The Firebrand?
The Firebrand, yeah.
Lauren?
I didn't catch the stream yesterday, so I don't know what we've shown.
Okay. Cheers.
I have to remit myself for fear of saying something.
Tony, what is your favorite Jack or your favorite model we've shown?
Yeah, I think it's probably a tie between the Firebrand Warjack and also the Paladin Commander. But they both kind of have that glowy melee weapon in common, so I think that's probably a big draw for me.
I just like that shield. The shield is rad.
Yeah.
The shield is super cool. I'm having a really hard time picking which of the 2 factions I should go
Lean
with.
back just a little bit.
Benjamin Maris. So you asked a question that was asked earlier on the stream, but I'll repeat it. Will Warcaster only be played with physical cards, or is a phone app in the realm of possibility? At launch, it will only be physical cards. There is no app launching with the game. Is a phone app in the realm of possibility? I mean, it's possible, but that is not an indication that it will happen. So I would not expect, don't be ready for one by the end of the year or anything like that. But I can't speak to all the possible plans of what will happen with this game. But there will not be one at launch.
Morris127 says, names mean nothing to us as we have no idea what you're talking about. So all the Jacks and units and things that we've been talking about were featured on the Warcast Primecast from yesterday. So if you want to find out more details and take a look at what we've shown off so far, you can either head to the website, warcaster.com, or head over to YouTube, Privateer Press Prime, and watch yesterday's live stream.
I think Morse was saying that in response to his previous question, Johnny, which is, what is your favorite model you haven't shown? And then he was saying, names mean nothing to us as we have no idea what you're talking about. But I do...
Tomato Smasher 1000.
Oh.
That's my favorite model we haven't shown. Tomato Smasher 1000.
Will we ever show it?
Will we ever show it? That's the biggest question of all.
My favorite model that no one has seen the model for thus far is Malvin and Mayhem, the boss fight for Riot Quest coming up. Though people have seen the concept art. Because Morris did not specify Warcaster, he just said, what's your favorite model you haven't shown? So that would be it.
Will Hungerford master of the Faustian bargain?
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm putting a little bit of Arcane Blue on top of this Eldritch. Trying to brighten it up a little bit. Give it a little bit of highlight.
Judo McCool says, can you talk about a little bit about the playstyle of the two factions? I would say watch the stream on Tuesday. I want to show you the like Oz and I playing, and then it is better to really demonstrate, and you can kind of see what's going on.
We got a cool question from Martin Granger here. He's got a painting question, and then I kind of want to tag on the back of this with a question if we don't touch on it this way. Painting, would using a painting chart wheel give a more vivid color, as in for a red color, you would use a green undercoat color. Does this work on models?
No, you're going to get really brown, desaturated color if you like undercoat with if you undercoat with a darker color and you paint a lighter color over it, it's just going to look like mush, especially if you use complementary colors. So when you mix two complementary colors, you get like really desaturated. Like you mix green and brown or green and red, you get brown. This is like a good example. You mix purple and yellow, you get muddiness. Let me find a red and a green so I can show you. All right. So we have very traditionally a red and a green. Take red, and take some green. Right? You mix them together. You get like a brownish mess. Now, the red is a lot more powerful in here, so if you add more green, it gets more brown.
Oh, yeah, it's really starting to desaturate and gray out too.
Yep.
Yeah, so whenever you add a color's complement to each other, it desaturates the color a lot. So if you want a desaturated color, then definitely you want to go over, like, you want to go with a darker undercoat of its complement and then go over it. But I would say if you want a bright, vibrant, bright, vibrant red, don't put any green in it at all.
So one thing I kind of want to ask a question about, or at least talk about, is I know in like traditional fine art painting, is oftentimes you'll prime your canvas with a single color called a ground, and that can be, I mean, any color you want. Everything you paint over it kind of takes on characteristics of that color, and it lends its character to what you're painting. So if you put a ground or had your primed or your first base layer be one solid color all the way over the miniature, even though the colors you paint over the top will be affected by it, I mean, does that seem like it could offer a lot of character to your model because it affects all the colors you're adding simultaneously but in different ways?
Yeah, totally. I think that sort of thing is more for setting, like developing a setting or an environment, right? So for instance, if you wanted to have this model be in a like bright lit environment, you would do like a zenithal with a color. So you'd like, if I wanted this to be in a red environment, I would probably start with like a zenithal of red from a very particular angle, and I'd like hit it really hard from that angle, and then I'd paint in those hues around it, thinking about how red light interacts with surface colors, because light interacts with pigments different than pigments interact with pigments. So knowing how that works is the first step, and there's a whole conversation about that I'm not going to go into right now, because we could talk about that for hours. But yeah, the biggest thing you need to understand is that light does not interact with pigments the same way that pigments interact with pigments. Same thing with like light interacting with light. So the quick thing is when you add all the colors of light together, you get white. That's how it works. And the more colors you subtract, the different color it's going to look. And the absence of light is black. So with paints, the more paints you add, the more closer to black you get. So it's the opposite, right? So you definitely like think about that when you're thinking about about light interacting with materials and stuff. And doing some quick Google searches will be a good idea. Maybe we'll do a whole Get Your Paint On about that.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So we have a highlighted message from a little while ago. We don't want to miss those. This glitchy bit. It says, can we get a mini crate model or alt sculpt that works for both War Machine and Warcaster, like Striker 2 and Paladin armor? I don't know that we will be making any models that would work for both War Machine and Warcaster. And if we did, it would have to be
definitely
somebody.
Wouldn't be a Warcaster.
Yeah, it would have to be somebody capable of traveling like all the way to the future and then all the way back to the past, and maybe like even to alternate timelines. Like,
Who do we have that do
I can't think of anything that would do anything like that. So, no, I'm just gonna say no. Definitely not Striker 2 and Paladin armor. That doesn't make any sense.
All right. I'm liking this white over this green. I'm into it. Might do these shoulder pads in white too. That'd be kind of cool. See, this is kind of what I was talking about. Is like I build. I have like a color palette in mind, and then I start with something, and I kind of refine it until I'm really happy with, color placement and stuff like that. So, look at that. Yeah, see, I like that. That's cool.
I Read Wolf, can you tell us when we'll be able to see the starter rules? That'll be part of the information coming up actually pretty soon. So, like I said, if you want to keep up with everything that's happening on Warcaster, go to warcaster.com, sign up for the newsletter. Getting on your email and the newsletter is the easiest way to keep up to date with everything that's happening. And so when things like starter rules are released or more models are shown or the Kickstarter begins, you'll find everything there.
Gotta say, this guy's pretty fun to paint.
You guys made a lot of progress in an hour on this guy.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely paint up pretty quick when you kind of get down to it. Man, this magenta is really dark.
So if you're going to pop some of that magenta, I mean, were you planning to leave it like this, or were you going to go back in and like do some finishing touch highlights?
Yeah, I'll do some finishing touch highlights.
How are you going to base your model?
So if you guys have seen the bases on the website, warcaster.com, those are the like fancy bases that we did, like colorized one, or not colorized, but like the colorful ones that we did to match the factions. I'll probably do something like that for this. And it might be like a yellow-green or something like that. Just that it's poppy, it's contrasty, and it kind of contributes to the overall effect of the model.
We have a highlighted message for you from Travis. It says, how many of the new paints are designed for Warcaster?
How many new paints are designed for Warcaster? Well, I did use a lot of the new paints when working on the Warcaster stuff. I can't necessarily talk about which ones they are, but hopefully we can get that information to you guys soon. I'm working on it. So,
Morse wants to know, how much do you water down your base layer paints?
a decent bit, at least 1-to-1, maybe a little less. Sometimes right out of the pot if I want a really thick base coat. What paint was I going to grab? I was going to grab something. Yes, Moldy Ochre, because Moldy Ochre is amazing. That's sulfur a kilo. Maybe that'll work. It's like halfway in between.
DGC highlighted message. Are we going to see a hardcover book with lore? I can't say anything about that just yet. Just keep up with the updates and you will know everything coming out. Travis asks, will there be a painting guide for the new factions like the factions for War Machine and Hordes?
Possibly. It kind of depends on what my schedule and time is and how busy I am to write something like that.
Sure. Then Screwfizzle has a highlighted message for you. It says, Jordan Lamb, let's say I have a model with a book, and from that book a spirit is screaming out of it. How would I add the small writing into that book? Also, I have another model that has an open book. The squiggly lines, which brush would I use? Can you show me?
Of whatever you are comfortable painting with, that is super like fine detail. Like so, this is kind of the brush that I'm using for everything. and it's a 0 right now. I don't have a good quality 1, so I'm using a 0 for everything right now. And this is very, very, very pointy and detailed. It's kind of like I could probably do something like that with a 1. It just depends on, what you're comfortable with, what your comfort level is painting super fine detail like that.
Cool. 2 more real fast. This is a great one from Hendrel, which we haven't said yet. So, will models have fields of view like War Machine arcs? Nope. There is no arcs in Warcaster. Your models see in every direction. PPS Hanley with a highlighted message says, Hungerford, great job on the stream. I am blessed to be your coworker. Thank you for making every day in the office brighter. What would I do without you? Interesting. And then Travis backs it up by saying, yes, I agree with you. Hungerford is correct at all times.
Now, everyone,
Thanks,
go
guys.
to your keyboards and hit Command-I to invert everything he just said.
Yep.
I mean, that's what they said. And when this is on YouTube later, people can't go see the chat. So, joke's on you.
Go to Facebook. You can see the chat side by side.
Go to Facebook, you can see the chat.
Don't encourage people to go to Facebook.
Judo McCool, have you thought about making decal sheets? So this is a good one. Because a lot of people at first, when they saw the hex on the Firebrand, they thought it was decals.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, that's
Or they thought it was crazy freehand by you.
It's
Do
neither.
you know of any decal sheets coming out early on or not?
I am not aware of any decal sheets. that
I'm
are
not
currently
either.
on this. Yeah. We're getting a bad 80s anime tie-in to Warcaster.
I don't understand your reference to bad, Aggie.
Yeah, I don't. Nope.
I just see
Don't understand.
80s anime.
Yes, Striker, you've got it. Warcaster uses arc as its main resource, but the models have no arcs.
Hamilton.
So we got about 2 minutes left before the stream hits 11. Do y'all want to kind of show where you got and what you ended up doing?
Yeah, so I'm got kind of a base idea of what I want the army to look like now. I've got some cool accent colors and some glow. This will probably just remain black. Might change it to a different color, but I don't know yet. Yeah, some more work to do, but it's a pretty good starting point.
Yeah, I'm digging that. I really like that. Unconventional. That's the word I was looking for earlier.
Unconventional.
Unconventional color scheme. I like it.
There is no P3 painter today, everybody. Sorry. We saw some
Sorry.
people calling it out.
Sorry.
Lauren, why don't you show everybody where you're at with your model?
Yeah, I am changing my mind currently on what I want some of my colors to be. But
Nice. Nailed it. Nailed it.
yeah, I do really like that orange. Just Blazing Ink is one of my favorites, I have to admit. I'm switching some of the
It looks
metal
done.
to
I don't
green.
know why I didn't use blazing ink on it the first time with the studio models. That would have been so much.
That wasn't
easier.
Blazing Ink?
No. No.
Nailed it.
No. It was like yellow ink and then some Heartfire and then some Kato Red and then some Inferno. There's a lot of colors.
I realized partway in I needed to do another color other than just teal everywhere, so I'm doing some bog moss to do like that top line like you did white, I think, on yours.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Dragon Pup was wondering what
You showed
what
bog
green
moss
color
as your
was.
other
Bog
green?
moss.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's just another contrasting green against that. And I'm going back and do some of the metal in the teal, and I'll pick out some more bog moss areas. But yeah, I'm liking it.
Cool.
Heck yeah.
All right, Jordan, take us home.
All right, everyone.
Country roads.
It's time to
Thank
go
you.
home. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you next week, and have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Thanks for watching.